Hi, I'm Dr. Dennis Hudson. I practiced medicine for about 30 years before I sort of semi-retired. I'm a doctor of Oriental medicine, and I have used in my practice extensively homeopathic drugs, and that ultimately is what I want to talk to you about. Please don't hang up. Now I'm going to go really fast. Try and keep this video under 12 minutes. And there are links to the important things that I mentioned. They'll be down in the description section of the video. Now, first I want to talk to you about a Nobel Prize winner's research. Dr. Luc Montagnier received a Nobel Prize in 2004 as co-discoverer of the HIV virus. Since then, Dr. Montagnier has done some very serious research on what is called water memory, which is what homeopathic doctors have been saying for about 200 years, that water remembers things. And that's how you make homeopathic drugs. I'm going to encourage you and your kids to get engaged in doing some at-home research, all for free, because that's the future of medicine. So let's jump right into it. As I say, I'm going to go really fast. This is a water molecule, and you can see that the angle between the two hydrogen atoms is 104.5 degrees. Just a factoid that you might want to know. But the angle of that hydrogen bonding is very important. I don't want to go into detail here. Now, everything I'm going to say here has been checked out by physicists and molecular biologists, etc., and that's all in the video about him, but that's about an hour long. So here's the important stuff to know. Water forms chains. Okay, and sometimes those chains get closed. Very often they become closed chains, and inside that is what's called a coherent domain. And the important thing to know about this coherent domain is that virtually nothing can get inside of it because of the strength of that electromagnetic field, except another electromagnetic field. And just for example, here I'm illustrating an arsenic molecule. Actually, it's a monoatomic molecule. It can come over and it'll bump into the chain, but the central part of the arsenic atom can't get in. But you'll notice how that electromagnetic field can get in there. Okay, that's very important to know related to Dr. Montagnier's research. And by the way, I forgot to mention, I wasn't born yesterday. I started my professional life in the exact sciences in engineering research. So whatever you're hearing bad about homeopathic medicine, well, you don't have to take my word for it. I'm going to show you how to experiment to prove it to yourself. I also hold a United States patent for cardiovascular pump and extracorporeal circulation, in other words, heart-lung bypass pump, zero RBC damage, also for drug delivery without batteries, so you don't need an electrical source or any batteries. In other words, folks, I'm a scientist. Of course, I don't hold a candle to a Nobel Prize winner like Dr. Montagnier. Okay, here's how Dr. Montagnier and his team proved that water has memory. They used what's called a polymerase chain reaction, or a PCR, and the highlight here is that you must have, in order for PCR to work, supposedly you must have at least a piece of DNA to begin with in order to replicate DNA. And what's in this solution here is a catalyst called a polymerase, and then you've got the building blocks for DNA down here. These are called nucleotides. When you put the DNA in the solution, the polymerase causes the nucleotides to start self-assembling into more pieces of identical DNA, and that's how you finally catch the bad guys, as you watch on CSI or someplace like that. So basically it's used when you don't have enough DNA to start with and you want a lot more. So here it is. After you added a piece of DNA, it assembles into these extra strands of DNA. Again, no DNA, you cannot cause the PCR to work, and the chain reaction will not go off, supposedly. Well, here's what the Montagnier team did. They used a type of scanner to pick up the electromagnetic field from a certain, I forgot what disease organism it was. It might have been HIV. And they scanned it and converted that into computer code, digitized it, the electromagnetic field. They then transmitted that via the internet from France across the Alps into Italy, which is where another team of scientists were waiting to receive the digitized information about that DNA. Now remember, no DNA, supposedly you cannot run the polymerase chain reaction, the PCR. It will not work, supposedly. Okay, the Italian scientists received this code data from the Montagnier team in France, and then using a solenoid, they subjected some sterile distilled water to the code data through the solenoid. So it set up a type of electromagnetic field over the sterile distilled water. As I recall, they allowed that to run for about an hour. I do encourage you to watch that full 1-hour video of Dr. Montagnier's work, however. Then the Italian scientists, after exposing that water, that fluid, which is in this beaker right here, to the data that Dr. Montagnier had sent, they then added polymerase and nucleotides. They did not add any DNA. They just, you can't run this without DNA supposedly. They did not add any DNA, and yet when they ran this, it produced strands of DNA, 98% identical to the DNA of the, as I say, some kind of pathogen that the Montagnier team had scanned in France. Stunning. I just can't tell you how stunning that is, or maybe you do know. So what's it prove? It proves water has memory, just like the homeopathic doctors have been saying all along. So you remember that arsenic molecule I showed you a while ago, banging up against the water and the electromagnetic field getting inside the other electromagnetic field. What that does, it sets up a resonance, and the field is captured inside there, and that's where the water's memory comes from. Now, arsenic is just one of about 1,300 substances that homeopaths use this way to make their drugs. And there are thousands more drugs just waiting to be discovered, and that's why I'm trying to drag you and your family, kicking and screaming, you and the kids, into homeopathic research. Right at home, in your kitchen sink. You have virtually everything you need already. It is the future of medicine. Well, what did Dr. Montagnier himself say about homeopathic medicine? Well, here it is. You can pause the video and read that for yourself. He says they're water structures that mimic the original molecules. In a sense, it's kind of like when you get a standard antibiotic, certain types, they contain attenuated or killed bacteria. And your body recognizes that as an assault and takes steps against that particular type of bacteria. Except with homeopathy, there's actually nothing in the water in most cases. Once you get past about the 12th dilution, there's nothing there, but the body still recognizes it. And now, just as an aside, there are French doctors, as a result of the Montagnier research, who are using an antibiotic to treat autism. But when you realize that you can also make antibiotics out of homeopathics, just consider the implications. Now here's a short course in how to make a homeopathic drug. I'm kind of skipping a lot of important stuff here. You want to download the free PDF file that shows you how to run the experiment that I'm going to suggest for you. All right, short course. First of all, this number one is called the mother tincture. That's where you put in, let's say it's salt, okay? You mix in some salt and water, and then you take a couple drops, you put it in the next bottle with fresh distilled water, and you start wrapping that on a table about 50 times. You take out a couple drops, in other words, to cause it to enter the electromagnetic field of the water molecules that have banded together into a ring. That wrapping helps that happen. And you take a couple drops out of that one, put it in this one in the fresh distilled water, and you bang that on the table about 50 times, and so on. And once you get about to the 12th dilution, you don't have any original salt left at all in the solution. And yet, that drug is used to treat water retention. That's right, it's a diuretic. And we all know that salt makes you retain water. So basically, what you start out with in the mother tincture has a certain effect. Once you get out into the actual drug, that has the opposite effect. Sort of like hair of the dog that bit you. But more precisely, some hair of the dog is very similar to the dog that bit you. You really need to get yourself and your kid into this research. It's easy to do. Here's how. You need some alfalfa seeds and a gallon of distilled water. The alfalfa seeds you can get at a health food store for $3 or $4. The distilled water, under $2 at the supermarket. Then I say here you want to watch the experiment video. Actually, that's not a good quality video. Just download the PDF file here from whatolearn.com/experiment1.pdf. And that PDF file is absolutely free. Now, if you get excited about this and you really want to get into developing new drugs, discovering new drugs, researching for new drugs, then you want to get the 40-page ebook from me, and it's $5. I got to pay for the server for my website and the ebook server. And there's the address, whatolearn.com/homeopathy.htm. $5, and you turn you and your kid into homeopathic researchers. Links for everything I talked about are down below, down in the description section below the video. Exactly 12 minutes. Thanks for watching.